Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. Very glad to have you with us on this Wednesday, April the 19th, 2023, as we continue our look at 1 Peter chapter 1. We're looking at the passage this week of verses 17 through 23 of 1 Peter chapter 1. And this morning I'm going to have us look at the first three verses of this passage, verses 17, 18, and 19, and I'll offer a few reflections and then close us with prayer. So this is 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 17 through 19. If you invoke as Father the one who judges all people impartially according to their deeds, live in reverent fear during the time of your exile. You know that you were ransomed from the futile ways inherited from your ancestors, not with perishable things like silver or gold, but with the precious blood of Christ, like that of a lamb without defect or blemish. All right, so we've talked about how 1 Peter was written to new Christian converts, most of whom were Gentiles. And there is a reference to this Gentile background and heritage in the statement that you were ransomed from the futile ways inherited from your ancestors. So there is a kind of criticism of a different way of living. There's also this emphasis on being exiled in your own country, in being exiled in this world. This term might better be translated as being on a journey, the recognition that you're on a journey in a strange land. What makes the land strange, though, is the type of journey that you're taking. And then, of course, there is this emphasis upon being ransomed, which I have emphasized is analogous to a slave being freed, being liberated. And knowing this, that you have been liberated during this journey that we're on, that knowing that we have been ransomed, we need to recognize that this ransom is not a payment of money or valuable things like silver and gold or things that you can buy with money, but rather with a sacrifice that's compared to an unblemished lamb, such as described in the book of Leviticus. There's the recognition of innocence and purity in both Christ and in the lamb that is given for the sacrifice. And so there's a sort of recognition. Now, this is, of course, a little difficult for us. Even people that eat meat don't like to think about how they get their meat. They don't like to think about innocent animals being slaughtered in order to provide meat. But what is helpful, I think, in this is the recognition of innocence, the recognition of purity. What's difficult about this is that this is a kind of, I want to say celebration, but that's not quite right. It's more of a worshipful awe and reverence at the way that innocence redeems us, the way that suffering redeems us, the suffering of the innocent, that there's something about that needs to be lifted up, celebrated in a sense, not because we're happy about the innocent who suffer. No, it's a terrible thing, but recognizing its terribleness and lifting it up as something that ought to be elevated above everything else because of what is at stake, this innocence and this purity. So this is intended to be an encouraging message. That is, that this is a very powerful, most valuable, essential sort of presence in life, in our life that we share together, which is the presence of Christ and that sacrificial giving that we share in. Let's close with this word of prayer from W.E. Orchard. Father, thou knowest how strangely in us faith and doubt are mingled, how we have to do battle for our highest things, and how sometimes our hold is very frail and insecure, but thou dost understand. We believe, help thou our unbelief. Sometimes the darkest doubts assail us, but we thank thee so much in life conspires to make our doubt impossible. We have sometimes felt all life sink down to the darkness of an endless night, but when we watch the setting sun fling back its beams upon the blackest clouds and make them gloriously bright, we feel there is always still tomorrow. Sometimes our hearts are sad with sorrow and we want no more of life. And then from some blossoming bough a bird sings a song of sweetness, and we know there's nothing in our life so sad that it cannot be made into music. And now we hear from far off days, a rumor that Jesus, the pure and tender-hearted, has risen from the tomb where he was buried and showed himself alive. And as we wait together here, we know that it is true, for our hearts are burning with his presence, and our faith breaks forth to flame. Amen. Thank you for joining me this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn, and I hope that you have a very good day. Goodbye.